Welcome to the DJNTV Chill Room Chat, your space to unwind and talk shop. This episode is sponsored by MadeByDJs.com, innovative tools designed specifically by DJs for DJs. DJEventPlanner.com, the industry standard for streamlining your business and booking faster. And DJRequests.com, the easiest way to manage your dance floor's vibe in real time. Support the show by using our Amazon affiliate link at djntv.com/Amazon. Now, let's get into the mix.
Good evening and welcome, everyone. We are coming to you live here on a Monday night. Cubbie, we're going to hang on for just a second because we're waiting for things to propagate over onto YouTube here. It's not propagating there. It is in other spots, but it's not propagating there yet. So we're going to just make sure before we get into our topic tonight that it is indeed working there. If not, I mean, it's in a different spot, and I can definitely see. I've got two people watching it, so I don't know if that's this one or if it's the other one. It could be a different one. So if it is,
can I say hi, Mom, real quick? I know my mom.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, mom's there. She was talking to us, so I'm gonna get that. If there is a different one that is working, I'm gonna get that one so I can be watching the chat right now, and then we'll get things going. Because tonight we're gonna dig into talking about contracts, specifically enforcing contracts. There's some problems that are kind of common out there in the DJ industry, and that's what we're going to be kind of talking about tonight with the show. So. There we go. I guess it will be on the other player. So Robin, hey, there we go. Robin is in the chat with us. So
yay.
So Cubbie, we're gonna go right into it and kind of keep tonight's show a little bit shorter. Contracts, of course, there's problems with that. Let's start kind of when you were first starting DJing. Did you start with contracts, or was your early times just kind of a handshake and moving on? Yeah,
we traded a couple pigs, sheep, and then handshake it, high-fived it, and spit on our hands and called it good.
Yeah.
No, we actually had paper contracts that we'd email them and they'd print it out and mail it back. Now we, thanks to DJ Event Planner, one of our great sponsors, I've got e-sign contracts and everything. But yeah, we did have contracts. I've had contracts the whole time I've been around it. Pre-COVID, that was a big learning curve.
Oh, that was, yeah. There was a lot of things. Our early contracts were basically so very simple. And as time has gone on, and COVID being one of those that many things have been added to it throughout the years. And part of that, we're going to be talking about some things that could be implemented into your contracts for tonight. But for those of you who are just kind of starting out and you're like, hey, I need to get a contract. Yes, you do. And Drax was on our good friend Drax, who left us here a couple of years ago, talked about contracts so terribly much and having a business plan and all the important parts of this. So it's definitely something, if you're getting started, there's no better time than to get it going now for your business. And you're going to be evolving. It's going to change. And that was really my point is, how many times, and you mentioned COVID, but you've changed your contract a dozen times, type of a thing.
Easily. Oh yeah. It's a learning curve. You do something like, oh man, I should have put that in there. I'm going to go home and fix it, Yeah,
exactly. So we're really going to be focusing kind of on a wedding DJ side of it tonight. There's many of these things that would be similar to other areas. Specifically, the first area we're going to talk about is the signatures, the signing, who signs it and such. This is an area in which, when it comes to, I'm just going to sidebar here a little bit, school dances. Some DJs, Cubbie, I don't know if they actually have students. They allow students to sign contracts for them to perform at a school. It's like, what? That doesn't, you can't. So the point with that is what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about things that we're not legal experts by any means. These are things that we've picked up and we've heard and we talked about to other people. But there's a lot of people who do a lot of really bad and stupid things out there. So try not to be that person.
We can save you from that.
Yeah.
Is there any heartache tonight with your contract? Once again, as John said, we are not lawyers in any way, shape, or form. Please consult with your state law and all that. But there are some mistakes that is pretty self-explanatory that both of us can share with you that hopefully will save you problems.
Yeah, that's for sure. So this is an area that I had to change. When I first started, I basically had the persons in the area, the top area where you had, the name of the client. And I would have, Susie Jones, the bride, and her address and her contact, all of her contact information. And then there would be the spot for Susie Jones to sign. And that worked out for a number of years, especially when my contract was only like this little, quarter sheet of paper type of thing, because that's all. And the rest of the page was planning. Put your songs here that you want, that type of thing. But over time, that has evolved. And because one of the big reasons that evolved in mine is because it bit me in the butt. How do you, as far as that area where you're looking for the names on the contract and signatures, how do you handle that on your document?
So generally, because we have DJ Event Planner and our request for information form is it can list the bride and it can also list the fiance if they put that name in there.
Mm-hmm.
So if we do get it, we have a place for both signatures where both clients have to sign. Sometimes that doesn't happen. Sometimes the bride just signs it. Sometimes I recently had one and I didn't realize it after they signed it, but the mom signed it for the son. Like I did her daughter's wedding. She was excited to have us. She filled it out for her son, be helicopter parent. We all
had that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I didn't realize until after the fact that the mom signed her name to the contract.
Mm-hmm.
Thank goodness nothing legally's happened with it. Nothing, I'm not gonna have to take them to court or anything. But always make sure if you get it returned and it's electronically signed, you may have to resend it out if it's not signed by the person who's at the top of the contract. Though it doesn't mean you're not protected legally, because in my state of Iowa, I did a little research prior to the situation. Since his mother put the inquiry in, signed, and made the deposit, made her legally responsible, even though her name is not on it. Mm-hmm. That's my state. Please check out your own. Whenever I deal with a company or a corporation, I may get an inquiry by somebody from a committee, and I say, well, before I send the contract out, who can legally sign this for you?
Yes,
because I can change it and still email you the contract, and you can forward to the person that can sign it. But I've come to the fact now of when I do corporations, schools, who can sign it on your behalf, and let me know who that name is so that I can put that name in there. Because, like I said, somebody completely different could be reaching out to you for their holiday committee or whatever they're doing. For sure.
And having the right would be helpful. But as you mentioned earlier, in some states, it really doesn't matter. The contract could be written out to Susie Jones up here on the top, and Brent Smith signed it. And now Brent Smith becomes part of the responsible party. Now, in many states, because if both Brent and Susie are talking to you and engaging you and emailing and have this paper trail that they're both active in it, that alone is enough to have them both responsible, which is kind of an interesting thing, is because, as we've talked about documenting information and communication with your couples, yes, in some states that alone would be enough to say, oh, look, to the point of that you got Brian and Susie who are doing their thing, and then Mom Janet. And if Janet's very heavily involved, and all of a sudden Janet could be partially on the hook because she was involved with that whole process and she was engaging in your services. So it varies by state, but it's definitely that having one doesn't mean that it precludes the responsibility for everyone else. With that being said, if he went to court, it could be depending upon the judge. Judges from one jurisdiction to another may not look at it the same way. They may say that, it was only signed by Brian. Brian's the only one that is on the hook for it. Brian and Susie broke up, and now Brian is due because they broke up 2 weeks before, and your final payment is due. Sorry, Brian, your name's on the contract. You've got to pay it. Or Janet, you signed the contract for the kids. You're the one on the hook for it. And in many cases, DJs or wedding companies have won those small claim cases like that. So there's a couple of things I had gotten kind of looking through, ways around to handle this. And of course, my methodology is to have a, person one signature, person two signature, so that there's signatures from both people. And that has been a huge help from my perspective, is that people both have to do their thing to engage that. And now I have a digital proof, or I have a physical proof that there were two people. Does that mean that, when it came to digital signatures, that the person didn't, fake the other one? They could have. But it's at least a little bit of a covering one's butt. The other one, I thought this was kind of neat. Cubbie, I wanted to run this past you. This phraseology, kind of a clause in the contract, that if a person had a single signature, and it could be signed by the parent, it could be signed by the whatever, the person signing represents that they have the authority to enter into this agreement on behalf of, in essence, all clients involved with this party. So it becomes kind of what you were just saying when it came to the corporate event, that person signing represents that they have the authority to enter this agreement on behalf of the corporation or whatever it is. And I thought, gosh, that would be a really nice, a nice little way to cover one's butt.
Right. But I've never lost a corporate.
Yeah.
If I've lost anybody, it's been a bride and groom. I've never lost a contracted corporate. And if the event didn't happen, which I can't recall anything in the recent future or recently in the past number of years that where I lost a corporate that way. Honestly,
they've always either gone through with it, or I did have one that canceled because of weather. And it was a slower time of the year, and I was feeling, I'm not going to bother because I want them to come back, the next year. Yeah. And I was, when they called and said, yep. And it's like, okay, great. I was going to go. And as far as the, don't worry about it. We'll just write it off and forget about it. And she's like, no, we're sending you a check. And she was insistent that she's like, you've been running a business, you've been good to us, and you've taken care of us. And it's not your fault. It's like, cool. So yeah, corporates have been usually pretty good. When you worked well with them, they will work well with you. And
they'll come back.
And they come back, yeah.
That's why honestly, with corporates, I don't require a deposit because sometimes it's a big ship with a small rudder.
Yep.
And so like when I deal with Meta, Facebook, Wells Fargo, Principal Financial, USA Today.
You gonna drop a few more names in there?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
it's such a big ship. I don't want to bother them twice. I'm like, look, just pay me the night of the event, or I'll call you the day next day and get your credit card, because I've done so many events for them.
Exactly.
And I trust them.
Exactly. Okay, so let's jump to our next scenario. And this happens quite often, where we have our couple and contracts, that the couple has signed, either one or both have signed. So it's the couple, but they send a check in from their parents. So then the first question becomes is if there's a situation, and I have had this where there was one of them that had passed away, and I could not, in good faith, keep the retainer. I just could not. So if you didn't have the no refund policy and you would refund it or do something like that, but if you needed to send money back, because I also had another wedding where it was 6 months out, they let me know, and they had paid in full. And in both cases, these were checks that were paid by not the couple, whether it was parents or whoever. How do you handle that if you had to do some money going back, and that check that came in, you looked on DJ Event Planner, you saw, oh wait, that was done by the groom's mom?
I never had that happen, but in that scenario, I would probably reach out to the parent and ask them if they want me to send them the check, or do you want me to send it to the kids or to the child? I guess it would be the situation is like, whose parent paid? Did the groom pass away? You know what I'm saying? And did the groom's parents pay it? Did the bride's pay it? So I don't know. I would definitely refund it, like you said, in certain situations, in death and cancer and things of that night. Things happen. But I'd probably give it back to the original person to cover my ass, to cover my butt.
And that's how. When I've looked at it and such, that's why I would think it just makes sense that way, because, it came out of that checkbook, it should go back into the checkbook. And we can make an argument for that, but in most states, because of that signature on that contract, that is overriding of that. And then, of course, it comes to the point of if we would go and send that refund back to mom, well, we're now in breach of contract with the people who signed the contract. So they might be able to, so we send, let's say it's $2,000 that we sent it back, and then it might be that the bride or whatever is like, oh, wait, we signed the contract. We should be getting that money back because our name's on the contract, and you now. So there is a small possibility that you could end up sending it back, the $2,000 to mom who wrote the check out, and still owe the bride and groom the money because it was in your contract that that maybe it was refundable in the case of a horrible act of God, whatever. Who knows? So it's definitely.
I have nothing about refund in mind at all. And if any balance is paid previous to all money paid is money left. So it would have to be extenuating circumstances, and they would have to know that I'm doing them a favor by giving you a refund, and that makes you out to be the good guy. And then I'd also either do a 3-way email or a 3-way conversation saying I'm really sorry about the situation that's taken place. Who do you want me to send the refund with? And I have both people either in that email thread or I have both people on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
And I would probably just ask,
And at times I can see where that wouldn't work. Getting everybody on the phone at the same time is that, let's say the mom of the bride wrote the check out and they broke up, and now it's the groom was the one who signed the contract, and he's demanding the money because his name was on the contract and no one else was. So he should be getting the money back because he was the contracted, that kind of a weird, and these things will pop up.
Yeah. And again, for me, going back in that same situation, no refund. I can't help it. You cheated, and all money paid is left. And you don't get your refunds. If you paid it in full, you paid it in full. Sorry. But I mean, cheating that's not my fault.
Mm-hmm. And it shouldn't be.
Having a baby. I'm happy for you. I'm so happy for you. But again, I still have a legal and binding contract. I'm a small business.
Yeah. We're trying to run a business and deal with that.
Yeah.
One little suggested clause for this type of an area is that when it comes to payments coming from a different person, and I have had brothers and sisters making payments, I've had parents, aunts and uncles, you've had a variety of checks over the years come in. But they suggested is payments made by third parties are deemed payments on behalf of the clients. Any refunds shall be made to the clients unless otherwise agreed in writing. So in a situation like that, let's say that mom and dad, mom wrote the check out and paid it in full. In order for you to cut the check back to mom and dad, it would have to basically be that the people who signed the contract would have to say, yes, you can cut the check back to mom and dad. If not, in Minnesota, most likely we would have to cut the check to the bride or the groom or whoever signed the contract. But still, what an ugly area that could be. You said you've used a phraseology that money paid in is money. Say that again.
Yeah, but money paid in is kept, meaning I don't have to refund it.
Yeah. How do you have that worded in your contract then?
I don't know. I don't have it in front of me.
Okay. Yeah, I was just wondering if you knew it off the top.
I'll find it and send it to you. But yeah, any monies paid are non-refundable. So if you made payments over the way, and it's free and clear.
And payments are something that you do within your you set things up on a kind of a payment schedule. So let's say somebody's booking a wedding for next summer, next July, 2027. Mm-hmm. You kind of walk us through your payment, how you handle that from retainer to.
Yeah, I take original deposit, gets applied to the balance, and then I have a 90-day payment and a 30-day payment. And for me, financially, being in Iowa, that helps me run my business. So I've got money coming in all year round versus 30 months out. So in Iowa, we're doing a lot of corporates. They're not as expensive as weddings. So having that 90-day payment on those 90-day weddings in March really helps out in January.
Sure.
So we have a 90-day and a 30-day payment with my payment schedule. But I tell people they can make as many, however they want to do it, as long as they get their paid before the 90, paid before the 30. I don't care how you get there. And literally had a guy that paid me $145 every other week till his balance was zero. Mm-hmm. And he posts it, email him a receipt, and he watches his balance go down.
Sure. And
but contractually, it's 90-day and 30-day for me to manage my bills. So it's on full time.
So then this brings us to our third little scenario question about payment schedules, and specifically like Dan has talked about. I think Dan has a 45-day balance is due, something like that. Myself, I usually try to get the balance paid a month in advance. It varies, and such as Cubbie has a partial 90, and then partial 30 days out to finish it up.
I'm sorry. Yeah, half the current balance is due 90 days before the event. The remainder is due 30 days.
Okay.
And the way that would ever go up is that they added additional services.
And then it may change a little bit. So many of us have a variation of a payment schedule. Maybe not as elaborate, but it's a payment schedule that has to be, and specifically that deadline one. And my question was what happens when they miss that? Because we've all had that. When you've had people who have missed that let's back up to the 90-day one. How often does that happen where people miss that 90-day out one?
20% of the time. And am I worried about it? Not really.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's in there to protect me. I get it. I should be enforcing it, but I don't want to be that guy, you know.
So do most of those, so again, 90 days they should have paid it.
Yeah.
Do most of them then eventually get in by 60 days for that first half?
Generally. So then I also look at DJ Event Planner to make sure the reminder email went out.
Yep.
Yeah. And if the reminder email didn't go out, I may force it out.
Mm-hmm.
Go, oh, by the way, you missed your 90-day payment. It's, you still got time to pay it. Or, I just make them pay it all on the 30, but the 30 is where I drop the hammer.
Okay. So 30 becomes your kind of a cut. Here's the line.
Yeah. And we're meeting with our clients 4 to 6 weeks. So generally 6 weeks out, I'll bring that up at the planning meeting going, hey, I know you missed your 90-day payment. The balance has to be paid on 30 days. No grace. And not being a douche about it either. Just hey, look, you missed it. I get it. Life happens. Maybe your parents are supposed to send it out. Whatever. We talked about that earlier.
Mm-hmm.
But whatever happens, I'm kind of cool with it. But I don't want to be that guy. And and DJ Event Planner is amazing. I have my 90-day payment go out 10 days before and just said, hey, it's a friendly reminder that your 90-day payment is coming due in 10 days. If you already made it, blah, blah, blah. But scheduled emails are my best friend.
Oh, by far, yeah.
Yeah, when you do 300 events a year, it's so helpful.
Oh, for
people
sure.
You're really on the ball.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So in those situations where that there's the late, generally that is referred to in Minnesota. To deal with that, you would need to have a default clause. But basically that they have breached your contract. And the question becomes does that say Cubbie's got the 30-day and they don't pay within 30 days and now you're at 20 days out, 15 days out. Did they breach the contract to the point of where that contract is no longer valid? And in most jurisdictions, that is indeed the case, especially if in your contract you have a default the default clause. If they default on their side of it, that the contract is null and void. An example of what that terminology may look like let's call it a breach clause, just because breaching the contract, I like that. It sounds just better. If any scheduled payment is more than 10 days late, so again, we were at 30 days, and if they got to 20 days before their event, the DJ may suspend performance or terminate the agreement. Upon default, the entire remaining balance shall immediately become due and payable. Because for most of us, if we're 30, they cancel, 3 months out or whatever it is, most of us are probably 45 days to whatever. But yeah, at a point in time, it becomes I can't rebook this date no matter what happens. And you've taken my inventory. Now you're going to have to pay for my inventory. That's just the way it is. That's what we sell. Or, we only have limited spots and we just can't be giving them away. So having that clause of your limited inventory and having to be paid in full if they, cancel too close to the date is making sense. But sometimes they cancel and they don't tell us.
Yeah. Well, I had a situation about 3 years ago. We were trying to get in contact with them to do a planning meeting. And then 30 days before we go, hey, we changed our mind. We're getting married down in Florida. And I'm like, I don't give a shit. You still,
Yeah.
And I ended up taking them to court.
Yeah.
I won, and I got a judgment.
Yeah, but it's such a hassle, and it can be stressful, and it can make you question humanity.
Yeah.
And it's like, God, if we can somehow avoid a lot of that and deal with that. A couple of things though in this area, and then we've got a couple of quick things we're gonna hit. Your contract should hit a couple of things of like when a payment is considered late. So in Cubbie's case, 30 days is his last payment, and if it's not paid in full in 30 days, when is it considered late? Well, it would be considered late at day 20, 29 days ahead of time is when considered late. But there might be a grace period. Is there a grace period? Is there a 10-day grace period? So that really, it's late, but he's not going to be doing anything major. He's not going to start sending people to blow up your toilet until, 20 days out. Then your toilet is probably going to get blown up, just the way it is. If you want your toilet, pay your bills. You know what I'm saying? You might having what kind of communication that you're going to be going, so they know that there will be emails coming through the system, to know that the reminders will be coming to you via email of those payments. And of course, that their services may be suspended. That, hey, if we aren't, if you're defaulting on a contract or breaching contract, our services we just may not be offering them for you for that day. Yeah, and then of course you need to really be very specific on when that cutoff date is, where everything from this point, this date to the date of, if you cancel in that window, you got to pay in full. Okay, a couple of quick things here, Cubbie. What do you do if a couple changes the date? What have you done in the past?
So recently, as of last year, I had a couple of brides get pregnant. Super happy for them. I think that's amazing. But yet, and so we still have a legal and binding contract. So what I do is I make them pay a 10% rebooking fee. It's non-refundable. It's just a fee because I'm losing income on that day.
Yep.
I'm sitting at home, but I drop an amendment to the original contract, because what happened to me during COVID is, we didn't know if we were going to be able to work, and they would get married at the courthouse backyard, and they would just cancel. We'd recontract it for another date, lot far out, because 8 months, whatever. Because depending what state you're in, Iowa, we were able to DJ a lot, but we started to move some dates. But they didn't cancel, and because I recontracted it, I lost my original cancellation dates. So what my attorney said to do was draw an amendment up to the contract, to the original contract, that says you're going to move it to such and such date, but if they cancel, it reverts back to the original contract, and all balances and all the whole balance is due in full. So I'm trying to be as much as I can.
Exactly. You're trying to be flexible and understanding. Yeah. But
so look, I know it's more 90 days out, but you can still keep your 90-day payment and 30-day payment on your new date. Not a problem with that. I have no problem with that whatsoever. But you will pay the 10% up front, the 10% booking fee, moving fee. But like I said, I'm still trying to be flexible, show them that I'm willing to work with them. But if you cancel, it reverts back to the original dates of the contract, and your balance is due in full.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I like that idea, because there were, not that it didn't happen to me, but many stories from DJs talking about people who moved 4 times during COVID. They were booked for early May 2020. They rescheduled for a fall 2020, then an early 2021, and they eventually, probably late 2021. So they were in many ways, not that we weren't DJing anyway in some of those dates. Some of them we were, but it was such a, there's paperwork, there's time involved with each of those jumps and different things. And yeah, I like that 10% rebooking to move the date fee. I think that's a great idea. And
man, you can do 20. You can do whatever your market can stand or whatever you feel is fair. Once again, I don't want those bad reviews out there. So
yeah, exactly.
10%'s not a bad, and they understand it. Once you explain to them, look, I'm a small company, and I've held your date, and I'm happy for you, but 10% fee is what's going to have to happen.
So Robin asked a question. Robin is coming to us from Florida. So this would be she was asking about if there was, in your contract, you have it written that there has to be a canopy provided cover for a person in a contract, and they are supposed to do that and set it up and have it ready to go, and there isn't a canopy. And I actually have had a couple of outdoor weddings where we had a handshake agreement that they were going to be putting up a tent, and I would be under the tent, and I wasn't. But anyway, so if that was in your contract, how would you handle that, Cubbie?
That's a great question, Robin. I would probably, depends how long the event is. If it's just ceremony sound and I'm outside for a ceremony sound for 30 minutes, I will probably set up with 10 minutes or 15 minutes before the ceremony. Because let's face it, guests aren't going to be outside till 5 minutes before the ceremony. So I'll have plenty of time just playing music, and stuff won't be heated at that time. But it's a full-on outside event. I'd be like, we need to do something for shade, because because it's disastrous. And this communication would have been not only talked about at the time of booking, and have been talking at the planning meetings and any conversation that we had to make sure that they knew and fully understood some of mine, and you might have the same situation. I don't know about Robin, but I do sometimes Morton buildings on family farms and tents and stuff like that. And I've got my power. I've got to have a certain amount of power to run my stuff. And so I talked about that exclusively and how we can do that and such. So, but yeah, it's brought up more than once. And if it shows up day of, then and my stuff overheats, that's on you, sister. I mean, it's God, and we've covered it.
The power is probably the closest, Robin, that I would, as Cubbie was explaining it. And I have had that discussion with them that, I need a circuit. And they're like, we got two 20 amp circuits in the garage. And it's like, that's fine. And if we're popping breakers, the first thing I'm going to be doing is eliminating light show. And if I'm down to one speaker and it can't be very loud because we're pulling too much power because you've got to have your refrigerator and your beer cooler on it, it's not on me. I ask for a dedicated circuit just for the DJ things. And if you can't produce that, I can work with less power. It's just, that's going to have a lesser effect. And we've had that discussion a couple of times with them. And it's like, and if that happens, I will make sure that we'll be signing a thing saying that this is what you wanted. That you wanted that beer cooler and you knew it was causing problems.
I have a phrase that I use, and I use it in a lot of different situations, is your wedding is too important to me to allow this to happen. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I keep bringing it up. The power, the whatever. Your wedding is too important to me for this to happen. Yeah. And so then they realize you really care and stuff. So, that little phrase right there, your wedding is too important to me for this, blah, 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 really sells them a lot about how much you care, I think.
Yeah, I like that an awful lot because it makes it sound like you actually do care when we all really know you do.
Yeah.
Shh. So last thing I want to hit before we've talked about retainers and such, and sometimes it's been referred to deposits, retainers, reservation fees, booking fees, whatever. Those in some situations they have slightly different meanings. The part I didn't realize, Cubbie, is that depending upon the state, they can have a tremendous differential in meaning. That a deposit was one thing, and there's certain things that are assumed with that money put down, whereas retainer is a different thing. A reservation fee is a different thing, and some of these are just by their name are refundable. Some of them are a penalty, can be a penalty fee, and some of them are gone. It's gone money type of thing, and it was never even part of the initial payment. Is just interesting. For yourself, though, when it comes to our retainers, which is what most of us are referring to, are your retainers ever refundable?
No. There's never a hard and fast no when you own your own business. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
No take backs, whatever.
Yeah.
I think everything is situational. So if somebody's battling cancer, man, you betcha. Let me see what I can do to help you out.
Yep.
I'll give it all right back to you. Somebody passed away unexpectedly. Oh my God. Yes. Let me get it back to you. Somebody's parents passed away. Always. You just don't want to do it. You just you broke up. I hate it. I hate it for you, but not, like I said, situational for me. So I'd have to say health, medical, serious, death, refundable. All other ones, not refundable. You just really got to know. I'm not heartless.
Yeah. No, I understand. I think the point that we have to have in our documentation, I think, is that our retainers are non-refundable.
Correct.
Just across the board.
Not doing a favor by giving it back.
And that becomes a situation that we can always change our mind later. But as soon as you put it in writing that these situations may get it, you're going to be opening up a door. And if you become known as the guy who, oh yeah, give them a sob story and Cubbie will give you your money back. There are people who would try to, it's like, oh my gosh, my grandma died. Yeah, that's it. My grandma died. Yeah, no, your grandma.
I also call a venue and the photographer. Saying, hey, what story are you getting? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So I won't call a venue to see if they, did they cancel? What are you hearing? What's going on? Do they decide just didn't want a DJ or whatever? So I will call other vendors and sit on it for 24 hours because generally it's an email. Or if it happens to be a phone call, I'll say, well, can you email me? Let me take it into consideration, and I'll get back with you in 48 hours. And then I'll make some calls to see if other vendors are running into the same thing. Because the one that I ended up suing did the same thing. She ended up suing her too because the venue actually.
Yeah.
So because we both got shafted within less than 30 days to go, and she knew this the whole time.
Yeah, that's so crazy, but that happens. I mean, if you're in the business long enough, you will have it happen.
Only person in 20 years I've ever had to sue.
Yeah, yeah. But I've had a couple of situations that we've done that, but thankfully, in the last 15, 20 years, haven't had that. So. Well, good stuff. Thank you, Cubbie. Thank you for sharing some thoughts and such, and thank you guys for being with us tonight with tonight's show. If you want tonight at about 10 o'clock Eastern, DJNTV.com/chill. That's where everyone kind of goes and hangs out and talks a little music, talks a little shop. They'll do that tonight, and they'll do it tomorrow night again at about 10 o'clock Eastern. And sometimes it goes till 3 or 4 in the morning. So if you're like, hey, it's midnight, go pop in. It's amazing how many people pop in between midnight and 1. I get notifications each time somebody pops in, and there are times there's 25 people pop in between midnight and like 2 in the morning. I suppose after, to get everything all done for the day and want to go and see who's hanging out. So
it's amazing. Yeah, it's a lot of fun in there. If you've never been, you should go and check it out just one time. And it's like hallway talk at a trade show.
Literally it is. Yep. There's a good crew in there, and you can ask questions, you can share some insights, or you can just listen, because sometimes it's there's some good information, or just a friendly voice that does the same thing that you do, and it's always kind of neat to talk to other DJs about that, especially when you've got family and things around you that don't talk DJ.
Yeah, they can't relate to you, and all these guys can relate to the situations that either happened at your event that night or. Give you advice on what's happening or coming up. So
yeah, for sure.
It's super friendly. There's not a lot of attitudes in there or big egos. So like I said, if you've never done it, I've never been to a trade show, it's like trade show hallway talk.
That it is. And next Monday night we'll be back again. We're going to be digging into for a place that is wanting to have some marketing materials. This happens where some of the venues are wanting to put together a little display with some of their preferred vendors, or a photographer might want to have a spot, whatever. What do you do in this day and age? So Cubbie, I spent some time actually talking to my sons who do a lot of different things, and they're at a different world when it comes to this. So we'll have a good discussion next Monday night. That'll be going on at 8 o'clock Central. You guys can check that out. The link will be propagating about 8 o'clock next week, and we'll catch you guys then. Thank you much, Cubbie. We'll catch you next time.
Yes, sir. Take care of you.